love the Christmas season and I love making Christmas cookies. So let's show you my first one. First, I'm going to do a little squiggly line in my outline icing across kind of the top third of his head. And then I'm going to outline just the bottom part. We're going to save the top part for later, so we're going to work on the bottom of his face now. So then I go in with my flood here and I'm going to flood the bottom section. Now, when I'm planning my cookies and I'm thinking about what designs I'm going to be doing, I want to make my consistency based on those designs. So if I'm working with smaller cookies and I know I'm going to be flooding smaller areas or maybe even smaller details with my flood, I want to make my flood a little bit on the thicker side. Normally, I like a really loose flood because it settles on its own. It's less work for me when I'm doing lots of cookies. But when I'm working with smaller cookies, I like to have it a touch thicker, because when I'm doing those smaller areas, smaller details, it doesn't crater as often. So you can see I have to go in with my scribe a little bit to smooth it out. Normally it would just do that on its own. But those are kind of things that you keep in mind when you're making a set. Now obviously sometimes you can't have your consistency work exactly the way you want all the time if you have a bigger cookie and a smaller cookie in the set, but it's kind of something to think about. So now that my brown layer has crusted over, I'm going to take my outline consistency in black and I'm just going to make 2 small dots here for his eyes. If you need to go in with your scribe to kind of smooth it out, if there's a little bit of peak in the icing, you just go in and give it a wiggle and it'll smooth nicely. I've got a really small hole in my bag here, so I'm able to do these tiny details. If your icing is curling out of your bag, that means you have to cut the hole slightly bigger, just like a sliver bigger each time you cut your bag, and give it a test on a piece of paper towel just to see how it's flowing. And then I'm going to just do a nice little smile here, taking my time, trying to make a nice smooth line. And at the edge of his smile, we're going to add 2 dots of red icing. Again, this is my outline consistency, my thicker icing. I want it to stay in place and have a nice big kind of bubble of icing there. So now, because we've done the details and the brown has already crusted over, we can go ahead right away and do the top of his head. So here I'm going to outline in my white icing. And I don't need to outline between kind of the white and the brown part, because I already have kind of a border there with the icing that has already dried a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with my flood here. In those sections, those kind of drips of icing on his head, I'm going to make sure I get nice and in there and almost push it on top of the brown there. I want to make it look like it's dripped right on top of him. So you see I'm not being careful about the edges or anything. I'm kind of just pushing my icing in there and getting it right up there. And now I was going to put some Christmas sprinkles on top of his head, but I didn't have any on hand. So what do? We use what we have. So I've got my red and green icing here that I'm going to add some little sprinkles. Basically just make little lines here, and if you are really worried about where your sprinkles are going to fall and you want to make it look even, this is a great way to do it. Or even have them help out. This is a great way. Right now while the icing was wet, you could just do that, or you can let it crust over a little bit and add your sprinkles like this. You don't have to wait for so many layers to dry to do the next step and wait again. This goes by pretty quick and it's simple. It's not a huge cookie and it looks amazing. I hope you like my little gingerbread man. There's lots more Christmas videos in store. So don't forget to subscribe and we'll see you in the next one. Happy baking!